Hello, everybody. Andrew Blake from the digitalaudiomanual.com with another episode of Cubase Tips for the week of February 13th, 2026. All right, let's talk about tracks and channels. Right now, we're looking in the project view at a set of tracks, and at the bottom, we're seeing these mixer channels. When you're first getting acquainted with Cubase, as we look at the individual tracks, this is where you actually see the material recorded, whether it's audio or MIDI. Things move around left to right as you're recording different data. Once you've recorded something, and just like in this song, you get these events that show either the audio or the MIDI in this view area over here on the right. But inside of each track, there's a whole bunch of different things that go deeper in terms of how you can adjust this sound. In this project view, if I go up here on the upper right, I can turn this left channel view on or off. That brings this area into view. This is like a single channel taken from our main mixer and already has most of these controls visible and gives you a bigger view from this single channel. So there's a few ways you can add tracks into your project. Let's start by looking at this little plus sign up here to add a track. This opens up this add track dialog. You will see all these different pictures because Cubase allows you to create all different kinds of tracks to do specific jobs. For example, we have audio tracks, instrument tracks, sampler tracks, and on and on. Each one of these that you click typically gives you other options below, but there's some tracks down here that when you click on them, there's no extra options. Let's begin with the audio track, which is what we would use if we want to record our microphone or some kind of other audio device. Once we select this, we can come down to the area that says audio inputs, choose what we've set up from our sound card. And if we haven't set that up, we have a little gear that allows us to go ahead and set up those inputs. Below that, we have the configuration, so we can decide what kind of audio track we want, from a simple mono or stereo to any kind of elaborate surround sound. Then we have the audio outputs, where we decide where we want to send our audio track. This could be the basic stereo out or other buses that we've set up ourselves. We can name our audio track. We can give it a specific color. Then we can put in more than one if we want. We can just spin this little field to whatever we want. We have access to unlimited tracks, but with this dialog, we're limited to 100 at a time. If we want to keep this dialog open, in case we want to add other tracks afterwards, we can do that. But to begin, we just hit Add Track, and here's our new audio track ready to be recorded onto. We're given other ways to add these tracks. If I go up to the project menu on top, I can say Add a Track, and then I can choose, just like that other list. In this case, I'll say Audio. Then we get kind of a simpler version of that same dialogue, and we can add a track. And probably one of the most typical ways is just simply right-click in this area, and again, just choose your audio track, make your choices, and say Add a Track. All right, let's have a look at the MIDI Device Manager. We go up to the Studio menu, come down to where it says More Options, and then we have a choice here that says MIDI Device Manager. It opens up this separate dialog box. Just as a basic tour, if we already have some panels created, we're going to show up under Installed Devices. We have a choice that says Install a Device, and here we get some basic presets for various popular devices. These are very simple in their creation. They don't have any kind of fancy surface pictures, nor do they have any kind of intricate mapping. But if one of these matches your device, it may give you a point to start from. Simply choose something from the list and click on it, hit OK, and now that shows up in the list. In the same way, you can remove your device. If you've created something of your own and you want to export it, you have that option here. You can save it as an XML file somewhere on your computer, and then any scripts that you've created yourself can also import them. If you highlight one of the devices in the list and hit Open the Device, then you get this basic representation, and you can begin working from here. And you can come down to the bottom right and select some kind of MIDI output for your device. When you first hit the Install Device option, if you can't find your device in this list, one of the places you could possibly start is either the option that says General MIDI Device or GM Device, or this XG Device. Let's take this GM Device. This gives you kind of a standard template to work from. You want to put your instrument in, then you can add it here. Open the device. And then right at the top again, let's go to Patch Banks. You can see that we get a list of instruments, different patches, basically things that conform to a general MIDI standard. Once again, you want to come down to the right and assign it to some kind of MIDI output. Close out this screen. And now if I come down and add a MIDI track, in my dialog, under the part that says MIDI outputs, when I hit this drop-down list, I can see that general MIDI device that I just created, or whatever you would call it, for your specific device. I'm going to select that, go ahead and add the track. And now when I go to the Routing tab, as I look down to the Program Selector again, I now have options for all those patches that were listed in that device that I just created. And if I've set up my program patches correctly back in the device manager, then these different patches will now send the correct MIDI information to my device. All right, let's talk about the pattern editor, and specifically this plus button that allows us to add parameters into our pattern editor for adding automation onto the various steps. With this plus button, you can add your own parameters into the pattern editor and have them change with these different events. But what you have to understand is that this is very dynamic, and it changes with the instrument and with other things that you do in setting up assignments. Let me just try to give you a couple of examples to help you start thinking about this. On this particular track, we're using Halion as the sound source. That's what's being triggered by these patterns. When I hit the plus button for this, first thing we see is 16 different slots here that we can hit these little diamonds, and then we have a whole bunch of different options under each particular slot. What are these slots, and why do they appear when we hit the plus button for Halion? If you go to the Halion instrument, you'll notice up here that the sound is in this first little slot, and it's labeled number 1. There's nothing in these other slots. But with Halion, you can actually fill up all 16 of these slots with different instruments and different sounds. We're not going to go into that right now, but understand each one of these is independent. That's what's being controlled by these options, say 1 through 16. Let me give you a typical example and you'll see this in action. Let's say I go to slot 2, and my first choice here is to select mute. You could choose solo, volume, all these other things. And I'm going to choose this mute option on slot 2. Let's do another one so you can see them and compare it. When I go back to the plus button, let's go to slot 5, and again I'm going to choose mute. If we look down on the parameter lanes now, along with the ones we had, we also have an option that says mute slot 2 and mute slot 5. In this case, it says S5. Right now, when you look at the option for the parameters, it says off. If I click on any of these and move them up, now the word changes to on. So when it's down, it's off, and when it's up, it's on. Watch what happens if I stay on this slot 5 mute, and I select a few of these so they change to the on option, and then I leave a few of these that remain on the off option. And just as a comparison, let me go to slot 2 mute, and I'll pretty much do just the opposite. I'll leave some of these first ones off, and I'll switch these last ones to on. I play the song, you don't hear anything change. But watch what happens when we open the instrument again. As we look at Halion, slot 2 has become muted. And watch what happens when I play the song. It mutes slot 2, then turns it off. It mutes slot 5 and then turns it off. So it's controlling these different slots, even though there's no instruments on here. If there was actual instruments on here, these instruments would go quiet when they're muted. The thing you want to kind of understand is that the options you're going to see under this plus button, they're actually going to change depending on what instrument you're using. Watch this. If I switch to a Retrolog instead of a Halion, let me choose my instrument, choose an instance of Retrolog from the list, add this track, go to this first tab, make sure I choose the option for a pattern event. Then I'll just double click and put a pattern in here. I'm going to make it a melodic pattern. Now watch what happens when I hit the plus button. There's no longer any slots here. Instead, there's specific settings for the Retrolog. The master tune, glide time, all things that are very specific to the interface on Retrolog, these various knobs and settings. Retrolog doesn't have any slots like Halion does, so the options that we get under this plus button reflect that, and they're completely different. So again, you're going to see this change depending on what instrument you're actually using to trigger your patterns with. And selecting the track doesn't make any difference. You actually have to select a different pattern before you'll see this plus button change. So if I go back to the original pattern and hit this, now I have these slots back. But notice I also have these options at the bottom. And again, you're going to see these pretty much all the time. This category for automation, one that says extra, and this one that says MIDI controllers. Right now, these are kind of generic. Just show number 1 going on up. This extra one says AI parameter 1. And then we have this one that says MIDI controller. Again, it says channel 1, channel 2. You can even expand these to different MIDI commands. But what you want to do with these is think of them more as targets. For example, if I go to the automation and I just click on automation 1 or automation 2, it's really not going to make much sense, and it's not going to produce any kind of good result because nothing's really been assigned yet. We just back out of this for a minute. And again, I open up Halion, which is on this track. Say I go to this button that says release, and I right-click on it. I get these various options. One of them says assign new automation. I take that, and if I right-click on this again, now I have all these different choices. And one of the choices specifically relates to the pattern editor. You're going to see this on lots of different controllers in Cubase, different knobs and settings that you right-click on. But it says assign the step automation in the pattern editor. If I take this option, close hanging out of here, and then come back to this pattern editor plus button, look what happened under the automation when I hit this diamond. I now have this new assignment for the filter envelope release. The other ones still say automation 2, automation 3. And if I choose this option, now when I come down to the parameter lane, I have an option for the delay release. Again, I can start assigning different changes, and as these notes play, it's going to move that knob around. So as you explore this little plus button, just realize things are going to change, and a lot is going to depend on what you've assigned first on instruments like the drum machine or Hallion, or anything else that you're using to be triggered from this pattern editor. And if you're looking for more complete explanations, along with step-by-step demonstrations, taking you through this and many more subjects in Cubase, be sure to click the link in the description or visit thedigitalaudio.com for more information. As always, it's great to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.